All right, guys, breaking news, and this is unfortunate news to break, but I hate being right. So, I had said in the last video that I did that, there's temporary tenuous ceasefire that was negotiated by Pakistan for Iran, Israel, and the United States. And one of the things I said was I would not be the least bit surprised if Israel breaks the ceasefire agreement, and they've already done that less than 24 hours after the agreement. So, this is from Drop Site News, and this is what happened. So, 2:15 on Wednesday afternoon. So this is just a couple of hours ago. Dahlia, 38, was at a gym down the street from her home in Caracas neighborhood in central Beirut when a series of massive airstrikes rocked the city. One of the strikes just hit up the street along the stretch of road between her apartment and the gym, a route that she walks every single day. The blast was so forceful, it shook the building and left her ears ringing for hours. And then it goes on. All the children were traumatized. The strikes were part of a sweeping Israeli aerial bombardment campaign across Lebanon on Wednesday that came just hours after the U.S.-Iran ceasefire agreement was announced by Trump. In a span of 10 minutes, Israel hit over 100 targets across the country, including many in densely populated neighborhoods of Beirut and its southern suburbs. According to Lebanon's civil defense, at least 254 people were killed and over 1,100 were wounded in the attacks. The vast majority of the casualties were in the capital and the southern suburbs, with over 150 killed there. The Israeli assault came without warning and was by far the heaviest single wave of attacks on Lebanon over the past 5 weeks. In Beirut, the speed and scale of the bombardment stunned a population that has experienced successive wars, but rarely like this. Strikes landing almost simultaneously in broad daylight, and while the streets were crowded. Thick black smoke billowed across the city as sound of ambulances echoed through the streets. Authorities urged residents to remain indoors to allow emergency responders to move through the traffic-clogged roads. Dahlia said, "It's surreal. Did this really happen? Was it really this close to home? I really don't think I've processed it yet." And like I said, this is... Note what before I go on, note what is not being mentioned here. It's not like we're going after military targets of, Hezbollah or something like that. They're bombing inside the capital and they're bombing suburbs. Like, this is typical Israeli shit. Like, they go right after civilians. And it's so gross. And it reminds me of that panel that Emma Vigeland was on when she, brought up a very simple fact of the number one state sponsor of terror. Everybody's going on and on about Iran. And she goes, yeah, what about Israel? And all of them clutch their pearls and lose their mind. And they go, you really shouldn't say that. It's like, it's just a fact. Like, this is not even debatable. Just this alone, right? And Israel literally violates every single ceasefire that they've ever sort of, agreed to, right? Every single ceasefire in Gaza, Israel has violated. And they're doing the same thing here. And I did say in the last video, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised because Israel's apparently saying that, Lebanon's not off the table. Anyway, it continues. Hours after the initial spate of airstrikes, the Israeli military bombed a 9-story residential building in Beirut, trapping residents under the rubble. Outside of Beirut, at least 10 people were killed during a funeral in town. 3 girls were killed in Adlun, coastal area in the south. A family of 4 was killed in northeast village of Mansoura. 4 people were killed in a strike on the southeastern town of Majadel. Lebanon's health minister, I'm not even going to try and do that, Rakan Nassereddin, told Al Jazeera hospitals are overcrowded with martyrs and wounded. Hospitals across Beirut quickly issued urgent calls for blood donations. At St. George Hospital, a nurse hurriedly organized donors in the blood bank, urging those with type O to come forward. And I think that one's like the universal donor blood or whatever. In the hospital's lobby and courtyard, people clutched their phones, some sobbing as drones buzzed overhead. And then you have the war criminal, the new Hitler himself. Prime Minister Netanyahu said on Wednesday that the temporary ceasefire with Iran would not include Lebanon, and we are continuing to strike it with force. That's not true. That's literally not true. One of the parts of the peace plan that they said that they were going to agree to is that you're not going to attack Iranian allies in Lebanon and Yemen. You're not going to do strikes against Hezbollah or whatever. So that's not true. But Netanyahu's saying, well, I never agreed to that, which is, it's insanity. It's just like, I can still do whatever I want. Forget ceasefire or ceasefire agreements. The Israeli military bragged about what it said was the largest coordinated strike on Lebanon since the start of Operation Roaring Lion on March 2nd, with targets struck in Beirut, the Bekaa Valley, in southern Lebanon. It published multiple posts online, including a graphic depicting the locations of the bombings across the countries, photos of the aircraft that allegedly took part in the attacks, and photos of the Army Chief of Staff, General Ayal Zamir, alongside senior military officials, supposedly in an operations room at the time of the strikes. We will not compromise the security of the residents of northern Israel. We will continue to strike with determination. This is the same cry-bully shit that they do all the time. This is like, we're going to attack Gaza because, we're not going to compromise the security of Israel. Israel has the right to defend themselves. This is the exact same thing. Like, they start a war in Lebanon, they start bombing Lebanon, and then they say, well, we're not going to compromise our security, so obviously we had to go into the capital city and bomb a whole bunch of innocent civilians, right? And like, if the plan was, or if the excuse is Hezbollah, like they always used to do with Hamas, it's like, but Hamas is the excuse for everything. Like, if that's really what they're supposedly trying to do, maybe don't do air campaigns where it's indiscriminate and you kill tons and tons and tons of innocent civilians. Maybe go in with snipers, because we know for a fact the IDF snipers are pretty damn accurate. And we know that from reporting from like the doctors who are working in Gaza, who said that, a bunch of the children would come in one day and every single one of them had a gunshot wound in the same location. So it's like one day, all of them would be shot in the leg. Another day, all of them would be shot in the genitals. Another day, all of them would be shot in the head. And so it seems as though the IDF are literally like playing games, and they just like, they pick, all right, we're going to shoot all of them here today, right? So that's how sick, that's how twisted, that's how like evil the Israeli military is. But like they're indiscriminately bombing, and the excuse is the exact same as it was in Gaza. It's it's going to be like, but Hezbollah, right? Yeah, like they did the same thing in Gaza, but Hamas, right? And so it's just like, it's their like blanket excuse to just like continue doing war crimes, and they have got to be reined in. And the fact that we have a weak, demented, compromised president who continues to support Israel and allows them to do this means that like they're just going to continue to do it. Like, Trump is bought and paid for by Israel. He got over $200 million from Sheldon Adelson in his first term. He got over $100 million from his wife Miriam Adelson for his second term. And he, like I said, I've said this a million times, he's in the Epstein files. Israel has those files. He doesn't want the files to get out, so he's not going to do anything to stand up to them. But Israel cannot do anything without the support of the United States. Like, they need our money, they need our weapons, they need our support. And they are a client state of the U.S. in the region. But they're literally already compromising and risking the ceasefire deal less than 24 hours after it was struck. I mean, like, think about how weak this looks Trump make, where Trump can't go to Israel and just be like, look, you guys aren't going to do this anymore because we actually want to, get out of this, because it's been an absolute disaster. It's been an absolute disaster. It's a giant waste of money. All of the military bases in the region, there's like 13 military bases in the region, have been destroyed. Our radar systems, there's like multi-billion-dollar radar system in the region has been destroyed. The global oil market has been destroyed. And even if, by some crazy miracle, the Strait of Hormuz is open and they do start shipping oil again, you got to remember that, this is It doesn't just like the flow just doesn't start up again. These oil tankers are enormous, and they carry like millions of barrels of oil, and so they move at like half the speed of smell. And so oil tankers that left the Strait of Hormuz headed to the Western Hemisphere at the time when the war broke out, when the US and Israel started bombing Iran, those ships are just now starting to make it to their final location, either in the US or wherever it is on this side of the world. But that means that like there's been a blockade, or there's been a stoppage of shipment of oil coming from there for what is that, like almost a month and a half now? It's like 5 weeks. So you're going to have a massive shortage for that amount of time. And if Israel continues to do this, Iran's just going to dig their heels in again. And they're going to be like, all right, we're not going to open the Strait of Hormuz. Like, you guys are not going to get any oil. And they're just going to starve the Western Hemisphere of a whole bunch of, it's not just oil. It's natural gas, it's fertilizer. Like, that's super important. We're in the growing season now. Farmers are like, you know, if they're not able to get the fertilizer, the crop yields are going to go down. The food prices are going to go up. Like, this is a massive, massive, massive problem. And I can't believe that we don't have somebody in place that can like yank the leash and just be like, look, Netanyahu, you're not going to do this anymore. But Trump's you know, he's compromised, and he'll do whatever Bibi Netanyahu wants. And yeah, he literally made him look like an absolute jackass less than 24 hours after they negotiated a peace deal, a temporary 2-week ceasefire. It's so disgusting. We really, really, really have to do something about Israel. They've got to go. It's a theocratic, genocidal, homicidal regime, and they're trying to do like expansion into all of these other places that don't belong to them. And it's not just Lebanon, it's Syria, it's other places, you know. So we got to do something about them. And Netanyahu has an arrest warrant out for the International Criminal Court of Justice. He's not even allowed to fly through certain countries' airspaces, because if they find out that he's flying there, they will scramble jets and bring his ass down and arrest him. So when he flies anywhere, he has to like fly around countries in order to get to where he's going. But he's perfectly welcome here in the United States, and he gets to come in and talk to Congress and give speeches, and it's so fucking gross, man. It's so gross. Anyway, my voice is shot. So we did have some good news, and it was immediately ruined by Israel. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already sub, click the bell as well, and I'll catch you in the next one.